Hello, and welcome to the Journey to CEO Success podcast. I'm your co-host, Melissa Saunders, along with Patrick Tian, entrepreneur, CEO coach, and a USA Today and Wall Street Journal best-selling author. His latest book, The Journey to CEO Success, is the inspiration for this show. Patrick, hello.
Hey, Melissa. It's
How are
great to be
you?
here. Yeah.
You
Great.
too, you too. And today's guest is a real treat. His name is John DiJulius, and he is a man on a mission to revolutionize the customer experience. John is the Chief Revolution Officer, I love that by the way, of the DiJulius Group, a best-selling author of 6 books and the go-to authority on world-class customer and employee experience. His firm has helped iconic brands like Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, everyone's favorite,
Love Chick-fil-A.
the Ritz-Carlton, and Lexus turn service into their greatest competitive advantage. But John just doesn't teach it. He lives it. He's also built 3 successful businesses, including John Roberts Spa, named one of the top 20 salons in America, and Believe in Dreams, a nonprofit making wishes come true for deserving kids. Wow. Welcome, John. It's a treat.
Thank you. It's so awesome to be here.
Yeah, it's great, man. Hey, we've been friends a long time, John. So I'm so happy you're on our show today.
Let's not say how long.
Yeah, let's not say how long because we know how old you are. We don't know how old I am.
And then the audience will know how old we are.
That's right.
Well,
That's
unless
right.
we met in like grade school. That would be okay.
So, hey, let's take a couple of minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, and share a little bit about yourself and your company. What do you guys do?
Yeah. The DiJulius Group, it works on the experience, whether it's the employee team member experience or the customer, guest, client, tenant, patient, whatever we may call them. And we are it. That's it. We don't do anything else. And we are hyper focused on helping companies become the brand their customers can't live without and make price irrelevant and make the experience that they deliver both internally, externally, their single biggest competitive advantage.
That's great. Now you are such an expert in this area. So before we talk about your journey, our podcast here, our show is to really help our customers, our CEO clients to have a more joyful and successful life. So we're going to come to your journey, but I want to take about five or 7 minutes and explore this service component because we are so lucky today that we have, the world-renowned expert on customer experience or client experience. So you're an expert in this field. And when I first met you, you called it secret service. I loved that. We called it secret
That's great.
So I love what you do. Tell me, how did you get this passionate about service and experience?
Because when we opened my first business 32 and a half years ago, me and my wife opened a hair salon. And like in every major city, we had competitors up and down the street. And we had the 3 no's, no customers, no money, and no employees. And we couldn't, right. And we couldn't outspend the competition. We couldn't out advertise. We couldn't outbuild. But what no one was doing back then, and unfortunately still it's not as prevalent, is we just wanted to take care of the guests. That's what we called them. And I didn't really know what that looked like. I read every book out there, went to every presentation. We didn't have the internet like we do now. This is the late 80s, early 90s. But I was always frustrated with where the speaker or whatever would tell me the story about how if you went to Nordstrom's and they didn't have your pair of shoes,
Yes,
the clerk would run down to Macy's, buy them, and come back and sell them to you. And that story blew me away, but it would never tell me how you got Melissa to do that, right? And was it employee roulette? What I mean by that was I lucky because I got Melissa today, but if I came back tomorrow and got, Jimmy, he'd say, sorry, we don't have the shoes, come back in a month. And so it was actually out of necessity that I just started researching the best brands in the world, and it gave us such a competitive advantage. If you fast forward 32 years later, we still don't advertise and market like the customer experience is our biggest marketing tool in that business.
Well, something triggered in you though to say, you know what, this is exciting, and it wasn't just about solving your three no's. I'm sure.
Right.
It was about, because I had a similar experience, by the way, but I didn't go out and create a customer experience company. So what else? What made this spark in you this great passion?
First it was when I met my wife. She was working at a hair salon. She's this great hairdresser. I'm a UPS driver, graduated from college, but thinking I'm going to go open a sporting goods store. I knew I was going to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't know what it would be. And my wife would come home and say, a friend of hers at work, coworker, quit. And I'm like, why? She loves doing hair, her coworker, because she had to go get a real job.
The real job.
And so the salon industry back then wasn't thought of as a real job. They didn't get benefits. They didn't get vacations. They didn't get training. Anything. So if you look at our business plan, we still have our business plan from opening up 32 and a half years ago. Very sophisticated. Okay. It's 3 or 4 cocktail napkins. When me and my wife, we'd be out, drinking because we were, didn't have kids yet, and we'd be having dinner, and we'd say, if we ever open a salon, let's treat our employees really, really well, right? Let's take care of the client like no one else does. And it's not sexy, but it's what we meant. Let's give back to the community. And so we wanted to right a wrong that was going on in the industry, and all of a sudden it exploded and took off. And then the other thing is, there's this thing called the day maker dopamine. And it's when you make someone's day, and you work in an environment that allows you to, the person who feels best at the end of the day is the day maker. Right. Yeah. And so, it's releasing this oxytocin, and you just feel better about you. And oh, by the way, the money comes, right? You can charge more, and you retain more, and you get more referrals. Those are all the byproduct, but just seeing an impact on people that, they weren't getting. And this is really important for your listeners. We didn't want to be the best salon experience you had, because if Melissa comes into John Roberts today in Cleveland and gets her hair cut, colored, pedicure, whatever it is, she then doesn't leave our salon and go across the street, down the street to our nearest competitor and compare. So, and this goes for a lot of our businesses listening, how good we are compared to our competition is almost irrelevant, because Melissa's not experiencing our competition. So where is she going before and after her salon visit? She's running her errand. She has to go to the dry cleaner. Maybe she has a dentist appointment after. Maybe she's going shopping. And we want to, be the best moment in her day, where she's actually frustrated when she goes to the other places and they're not as nice. They're not as friendly. They're saying, no, that's against our policy and all that. And we want her to be like Dorothy, clicking her heels saying, I want to be back at John Roberts.
God, that's great.
So John, you said it just now, and you keep saying this, that you can make price irrelevant. You said it earlier. And, I want to ask you, how do you actually do that? Can you actually do that? Because, and I'm a big fan of yours. So tell me about this. Price is not an issue in your price, because, even in my business, lots of times my salespeople will say, hey, we lost a deal on price. I'm like, no, we didn't lose a deal on price. Damn it. We can't lose a deal on price. So how the hell do you make price irrelevant? And can you really do that?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think of about the best brands in the world, they're significantly more than their competition. Apple, Lululemon, all these, Chick-fil-A. Yes. So making price irrelevant doesn't mean you can double your fees, prices, or even raise them 25% and not lose existing or potential customers. Here is what making price irrelevant is. Based on the experience your brand consistently delivers, your clients, guests, customers should have no idea what your competition charges, right? There's a lot to unpack there. Your brand consistently delivers means at any touch point, if I call in to your contact center, support center, whoever I am dealing with in any channel, it has to be there. Now, listen, I'm price sensitive, and I've been the idiot that's driven 3 extra miles to save 50 cents on something, not realizing I just lost in that exchange.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But personally and professionally, I have just a few businesses I do business with that they have made me so loyal. They've built such a strong emotional connection, peace of mind. They've made a brilliant comeback when they have dropped the ball. Everyone's guilty of that.
Yeah.
That I'm so loyal to them that I can't tell you what their competition charges because I'm not out looking, right? And we've all known this. Oftentimes, the cheaper you go, the more it costs you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, those are retail examples, which are great. But my clients, my customers and clients are usually business to business. So,
Mm-hmm.
so how do you is that true even in a B2B environment?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like you, about 70% of our clients at DiJulius Group is B2B. And we share some great clients that just think that you are the and I agree with them. I agree with them that how important you've been to their business.
You're too kind. Thank you, John.
Yeah, B2B especially because that's really where you can build the long-term emotional connection. And listen, we better be absolutely great at what we do. But
Yes.
whether it's you, me, anyone, there are people out there that have the same technological advances. The CPA that saved me $25,000 on some tax loophole this year. I'm pretty sure any CPA I would consider hiring would know that same tax loophole.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's financial brilliance, any brilliance by itself is a commodity because there's a lot of smart people doing what every business does or copying the product. But that relationship, being the partner that you can't live without. One of the examples I love to give for B2B is, are you, your listeners, are you in your CEO's foxhole? And so the metaphor here of those of us that are old enough, it might be just me and you, Patrick, of, people, in the 50s literally had bunkers, bomb shelters. Okay. And so I like to think that, the example I like to use here is think of your CEO, your client CEO, right? That you're taking care of. They have 2, bunkers. They have 2 foxholes. They have 2 bomb shelters in their backyard, let's say. One is for their family, right? And they're going to take their significant other. And if it was me, depending on the day, I'll take probably all 3 of my boys, maybe 2 of them, right? Now you go to their professional bomb shelter. That only fits 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
Now I got to think about, am I guaranteed one of his 2 seats?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And he could think about it. He could say, his banker, I could start over tomorrow with a new banker and probably get it cheaper, or an accountant, or this, or marketing. How are we sure that our CEO client can't fathom life without us, right? Our business.
Yes. That's awesome. Okay. That was a bonus, guys, for you guys out there. That was a bonus for us. I want to get to your journey, your life's journey, because this podcast is about helping our clients have the best, joyful, and most successful life. And by the way, the reason why I say that is because I realized a few things. One, it's really hard to be successful for CEOs. Secondly, a lot of CEOs, unfortunately, sacrifice health, life, family to catch the success that actually they may not even get. And then I realized along my own journey that sometimes if you are more joyful, the equation to get you more successful is even better. So I want to help our clients get joyful and successful. So tell me about your journey. What are some key inflection points, key decisions that got you to where you are today?
Yeah. As I mentioned, when I graduated from college, I knew I had to be an entrepreneur. I had that spirit. I'd lose sleep at night. And this is in the late '80s. I thought, all right, entrepreneur. I love sports. I'm gonna open a sporting goods store. That was the only 2 plus 2 I could think of. Meet my wife, and the salon opportunity presents itself, and so we open a salon, and I didn't want to be involved in the salon. I just thought if that took off, I can quit this good paying job and start my entrepreneurial career. And it actually, flipped. We struggled because we didn't know what we were doing at first. I had to jump in and help, but because my wife was this unbelievable technician, charging a lot of money for the Cleveland area for haircuts and stuff, and then I had the business customer experience. We just started taking off. So now it's in the early mid '90s, and if you would have asked me, what are you going to do with the rest of your career, I said, oh, we're just going to open salons. Right. That's all I think. Well, people started asking me first locally to speak in Cleveland at events and chambers of commerce. Never thought to do it, to be didn't know there was a career at it. So I just did it for a marketing opportunity. I figure if you guys attended, you hear about the salons and you go and buy your wife a gift certificate. Wow. But every time I spoke, 2 or 3 business leaders would come up and say, can we bring you in to speak to our staff? I'm like, sure. And they're like, well, what's the fee? I didn't know what they meant. I didn't know if I had to pay them. I'm like, I had to ask people, Patrick, well, what does he mean?
Right. You were learning at that time that these are paid sales calls for you.
I had no idea. Yes. I had no idea. Yeah. So I start speaking, and then it's, getting a little bigger and bigger. And up until 2003, I was a salon owner that spoke a few times, half a dozen to a dozen times a year. And then my first book, Secret Service, came out in 2003, and it basically flipped. I then was a speaker that owned salons, and I haven't been involved in the salons since 2003. Still own them, but not involved in the day-to-day. And then that just spiraled, and then by the time my next book came out, we evolved into a consulting company, because what I realized is just speaking on stage and leaving the building wasn't, doing people, any long-term favor. It was deodorant, right? They'd get rallied up, but it would wear off, and the odor came back.
What's interesting about even just that part of your journey is the word flexibility came to my mind. Like, you wanted to be an entrepreneur. To some degree, you thought, okay, it makes sense. I like sports. I want to be an entrepreneur. Let's do a, sporting thing. But you were flexible enough to go, okay, hey, met your wife, and let's do salons. So you were flexible. And then even in the salon, so these are key inflection points where you went from I want to be an entrepreneur to salon owner. And then from, and also the unexpected takes us, right? Like you said, your wife was technician and you were customer experience, and boom, that was a great combo. But you didn't expect that. You didn't expect that you'd come in and do all that. So, being flexible enough and being observant enough to see these decisions, they take you different places.
And where the opportunity is, right? No one was doing it in the space. Just like with the DiJulius Group's opportunity is, no one was out there teaching the how. They were teaching the what, but they weren't teaching the how. So it was an opportunity that, and today, I can't believe, I get paid to do, both my businesses. They just, I love it, and it's rewarding.
So the phrase you just used, I can't believe I get to be paid to do this. It's also a quote from Bill Gates a long time ago. Bill Gates, early days at Microsoft, he said he couldn't believe he got paid to write code because he loved writing code so much. I've had the same feeling too in my world, where I feel like I wake up and I feel like I can't believe I get paid to go do this. And I think that you and I are two very lucky people that were able to dial into our passion and then just connect it with our work. And I always like to say, look, when you're doing what you love and you love what you do, then work isn't work anymore. You feel that way too, John?
Yeah, you bring up a good point that we have a new KPI we are measuring on employee engagement. Now, I know it's not going to be the same as an entrepreneur, all right, but still, I want this needle to move. And the KPI that I know already what your answer is, how excited are you on Sunday night compared to Friday night, right?
That's
Mm,
great.
And
that's a good one.
I know your answer, right?
Good.
I love my weekends. I love my time off, but
Yeah,
I'm also can't wait to get back at it Monday
I
because
love that KPI. Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
that's a
now I
great.
want to take that to my employees. Now I don't expect them to have the same thing, but if Friday night's a 10 and Sunday is a 2,
Mm,
right? Man, what
Yes.
if we could move that? Or what if we, intentionally move that? It may never be, a 10 and a 10. But if
Yeah.
it's a 7.5 or 8, because I
Yes.
know that the other
mhm,
places that they worked or could work was a 2.
mhm.
Yeah, one of my employees in my last company said this to me one day. I still remember this. He said, Patrick, you're one of those. Um, he said to me, he said, you're one of those like pissed off entrepreneurs. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, on Friday, you're like pissed off it's the weekend, whereas the rest of us are happy it's the weekend. He said, you can't wait to come back to Monday. I enjoy my weekends, but you're right. I can't wait for Monday. So
Yeah.
Monday's my best day.
Yeah.
Monday is
Yeah.
my
Yeah. Me
best day.
too. Me too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is great.
That's awesome.
Whew.
So a little bit more about your journey. So
Mhm.
so today at the DiJulius Group, you guys you speak, and then from there you have consulting opportunities from that, and you realize that how you realize that I think you said because you left the building, and it was like deodorant, it wears off, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
just a keynote doesn't give them. So we
Mhm.
created a methodology, a framework that we have found that all the top customer experience companies in every industry focus on. And that's kind of our methodology. So yeah, from a revenue stream, consulting makes up the majority. Keynote speaking, the books are the lead gen for them. And then we
Mhm.
have some academies. We have a CXO academy and an employee experience executive
Yeah.
academy that people come to Cleveland for a year.
And
And
so employee experience is new. I mean, in the last few years is new.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The new book is about employee experience. And so how did life's journey take you there?
It's always been a part of our methodology. And we've always, in the first 5 books, we always, dedicated at least 1 or 2 chapters to it. But it really came
Mhm.
out of the pandemic, the great resignation, the
Mhm.
quiet quitting. And
Mhm.
we really, wanted to help people. It goes back to, the employees are dreading Sunday night after
Mhm.
dinner as they're getting ready, their whole mood changes. And we don't have 2 lives. We have 1 life. We don't have a work life and we have 1 life. And work takes up so much of an employee's life, right? They
Yes.
can't, most can't forego it. Then
No.
it should be fulfilling. It should be rewarding financially, but also in the other ways. And as leaders, we should help our employees live extraordinary lives. We have the DiJulius Group and John Robert Spa. We have a mission, an employee mission statement that we tell them on the interview. We tell them during orientation, and we tell them every time we get together. And it's not to brag; it's for the employees to hold us accountable. And this is what we say, okay, Patrick. We want you to make more money than you ever thought possible. Okay. I'm going to say that again. Patrick, we want you to make more money than you never thought possible here. However, when it's all said and done, we want the money that you earn to be the least valuable thing you got from working here. So we put that out there. So, you can call bullshit, and say, John, the money's not that good, or the and
Yeah.
so we want to train and fulfill the whole person and make them a better spouse, make them a better parent, make them financially stronger, in the other areas, not just how can I make you more productive so we can be more profitable.
Mhm.
Yes. So you are a real good what I call an A&D thinker. What you just demonstrated is what I call the power of the A&D. A lot of people think that have the or equation. It's like you can have fun at work, or you can have a good life. And that's why people talk about balance and trade-offs and things like that. And you said a few things that are really good.
Wait, what's A&D? I might have missed it.
A&D as an and.
Oh, okay.
So you're A and D. So A and B. So in other words, we want both. You don't want to compromise. You don't want to say, hey, I want to pay you a lot, but sacrifice all the joy you have. But you're saying, actually, why can't we have both? You're saying, for example, it shouldn't be my work life and my personal life. You have one life, buddy. So, and you're right. The stats are you spend more than 70% of your waking hours at work. So if you don't enjoy the people, the work that you do, the place you are, then you're actually pissing away 70% of your awake life.
I think it's on leaders. It's our responsibility to help that, right? And I had a leadership epiphany during the pandemic and coming out of it, right? Because the two biggest things everyone was guilty of, and I was guilty of it too as an entrepreneur, is hiring just anyone to fill spots, which is bad. And just as bad, maybe worse, is looking the opposite way, or ignoring the negative, poor performers that we had, because I need 10 new employees. And if I get rid of, these 3 people who shouldn't be there, then I'm going to need 13. So here was my leadership epiphany. We've all heard the quote, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Yeah. I love that quote. I believe in it. I've said it to my 3 boys ad nauseum. Every time I speak to the young employees at new employee orientation, I say it, right? And if my son or one of your daughters, Patrick, is hanging around undesirables, a bad group,
right?
Who do we blame? Your daughter, my son, right? Choose a better group. Yeah. Okay. Well, here, I literally lost sleep over this. Our employees don't get to choose their 5 coworkers.
Yes.
We choose for them.
Choose for them.
Yeah.
And so if we're hiring just anyone, keeping bad attitudes, negative Nancy's, and whatever we want to call them, and Melissa's a rock star, but we're surrounding her with bad apples, one of 2 things can happen. The better thing for Melissa is she's going to get the hell out of there because she doesn't tolerate it. But maybe Melissa has faith in us and our company and gives us the benefit of doubt, but she's going to gravitate to the average. And then we're going to be blaming Melissa. What happened to Melissa? Why does she have a bad attitude? Yeah. Why is she, questioning this and this and this?
Yes.
We control the 5.
Yes.
That's pretty powerful.
That's awesome. So I know Melissa has a question that she wants to ask you.
Yeah, no, it's my question. I know we always do this around lunch. And so, of course, my tummy's a little rumbly. And so during your journey, a road trip, what is that one snack that you have to have?
He has no snacks. Look at him. He's a rock.
I know. He's solid as a rock, but give me something.
I love my Starbucks Mango Dragon Venti Mango Dragon refresher with water, not lemonade.
Of course.
And then they have the little protein box, like hard-boiled eggs and fruit and stuff. That's my everyday. That's what I have to grab.
Wow, that's great. It makes sense. Let me ask you another quick question.
Please.
Is anyone trainable?
It depends on what. So if we talk about soft skills, right? Yeah. We absolutely can, as leaders training, move the needle on empathy. I don't know about you, but when I was younger, I didn't have empathy for people, right? Mm-hmm. If Patrick was down in the dumps, dude, suck it up, pull up your bootstraps, If someone's overweight, what's wrong with you? Depressed, this, that. I didn't understand, life experience. So you can teach empathy. You could teach curiosity. You could teach better listening skills. The things you can't teach that you have to have on your interview process is I cannot, 10,000 hours will not change you if you don't genuinely like others, right? If you don't love people, that doesn't mean you're a wrong person. It just means don't put her in a position that is around employees or, put her in a cube and let her crank on, numbers or whatever. But do you have enthusiasm? One of my favorite interview questions is, with your free time, weekends, nights, vacations, what's your most favorite thing to do? Now, I do not care what the answer is, as long as it's legal, right? I do not care if it's, riding horses or playing Dungeons and Dragons. But what I'm looking for is when you're talking about your most favorite thing to do, are you enthusiastic? If you're not going to be enthusiastic about anything. So there's a lot of questions that help us. The employer doesn't realize they can't game it, but finding out, all right, that's just not a right fit. But there's a lot of stuff we can train.
Yeah, that's good. I kind of just wondered that.
Yeah,
that's great. So, John, I always end the show with one final question.
We're over? Come on.
I know that was a quick 30 minutes.
We're having a lot of fun. You're going to come back. We'll bring you back.
Right.
We'll bring you back. But the one final question I always ask every single guest is, what advice can you leave our audience to help them to have a more joyful and successful life?
As an entrepreneur, as a CEO, a couple of things. First, we have to understand that we live in a world of uncertainty. And I don't mean external, what's going out there with politics and being an entrepreneur is about uncertainty. And you have to be able to handle, stress has to be your, a love language, right? And just expect it and hopefully rise to it. I actually struggle when things are going well. I don't know what to do. I don't feel needed. I don't, what do you mean there's no fire department? What do you mean we're hitting our numbers? But if I can, the best advice is my personal mission. It's on cards. It's on my bathroom mirror. It's anywhere I could look, is to live an extraordinary life so countless others do. So I don't want to live an extraordinary life so I have more houses, more cars, more vacations, more money. Yeah. I want to live an extraordinary life because of the ripple effect, the responsibility I have, that if I live an extraordinary life, take care of myself, healthy, only surround myself with positive people that inspire me to be a better husband, to be a better father, to be a better human being, all the things I need to do, then my 3 boys are going to be more likely to have an extraordinary life. My 150 employees are more likely to have an extraordinary life. Thousands of clients, right? It's the ripple effect. I don't know if you've heard this, Patrick or Melissa, but I forget who said it. I apologize. It was from a TED Talk. But they said there's a new definition of being a billionaire. A billionaire today positively impacts 1 billion people's lives. I love that.
That's great.
And we may not directly come in contact with 1 billion people directly, but the clients we come in contact with, our employees, right? The stranger on the street and say, Melissa, I love those glasses, right? Those are cool glasses, right? Puts a bounce in her step. The ripple effect, the domino effect of indirectly, now we can hopefully have, the impact of 1 billion people.
Wow.
Oh, thank you, man. Awesome.
Yeah, that was very inspirational. And I know our guests are going to love this one and repeat it possibly. And
I've learned a lot from Patrick. So
awesome.
As his lawyer has told me to stop plagiarizing him.
You're hilarious. Yeah. Thank you, John,
Thanks for what you do.
Today. Yeah. Patrick, thank you for being here as well, sharing your stories. Until next time, you guys, go out there and enjoy your journey. Until next time, bye now.